Hi, this is 365801 and this is week 1 of my 2022 reading wrap-ups. As many of you will probably know, I do talk a lot and so my wrap-up videos are very long. So my goal for 2022 is to try and attempt weekly wrap-ups, and that way my videos will be shorter. I will have more of them, so it's more content, more often, more regularly, rather than just one huge, big, long video at the end of the month. That seems very daunting to watch. Probably will save my computer from completely crashing and dying, which is on its wee last legs now anyway. So yeah, this is the first video in this series, I suppose. Hopefully there will be 52 across the year. This is the first 9 days because my calendar says that the 1st and the 2nd were technically week 52 of last year. So it's 1 week plus 2 days. I hope you enjoy. So I actually started the year with an audiobook that I have already read, so I started with a reread. I did that last year and I enjoyed it, so I started again. One that I actually started on the 31st, so I finished it in the first week. And that is Finch. I love Finch. It's just a comfort read for me now, and I think a few things will just become comfort reads for me, so I can just put them on as an audiobook. And you guys, you're going to hear about them again and again and again, because I'm going to go on about them. Finch, I just love Finch so much. I love Hugh, and Hugh is just a silly, silly dragon who does not know that he is absolutely in love with this man that works for him, and Finch is like totally in denial and doesn't want to get involved because he doesn't want to break this poor wee dragon man's heart. It's such a cute, sweet story and so full of nonsense. It's the most comedic, I think, of all of the stories, just because of how silly Hugh is and how he's just this bumbling kind of idiot, and yet he's like fully sexually aware. It's quite funny. And whereas Finch is like the most astute and serious and cerebral, and yet when it comes to sex, he's completely inexperienced. And so I do think that's a fun aspect and dynamic to the story as well. It's so obvious that they're not only, bound to get together. It's so obvious that Hugh is actively pursuing him, but completely unaware. What did Everard say? That he's inadvertently wooing or courting him, and I just love that. There's a moment in the book when he says, well, as long as, he doesn't tell you that you're a treasure and show you his dragon, then you're all right. And Finch is just like, oh, because he's already done that. He doesn't tell Everard. Just like, that's the bit that just makes me laugh every single time when I think about it. Oh. So yeah, it's just a sweet, fun little one. I will recommend Forbidden Desires. If you like Mpreg, or you're okay with Mpreg, if you're okay with shifter stuff, then yeah, Forbidden Desires is a great series, and Finch is my favourite, along with my next read. So because I finished Finch and I still had family visiting, so I still had some reasons to not have a book in front of me reading, but I still wanted to go to bed and put something on to listen to, and Michael Furiolo's voice is just so soothing that I can listen to him chatter on and do all the voices and then fall asleep and then wake up in the middle of the night with my headphones still on, having missed 4 or 5 chapters, and yeet my headphones across the room. I did listen to Bond. This is like the 5th time I've listened to Bond, maybe more, that I've actually recorded. This is, I think, the 5th time. I've actually put it down in my Goodreads. might be more. I love Bond because I love Everard. I've gone on about Everard. He's a brilliant character. He's just so funny, and I just want the best for him. And the best for him is Harry. I love Harry now. I never used to, but I absolutely adore Harry now, and I love all his little mannerisms and things, and I love how they are in the later books as well. And the reason I've been doing this, I thought I may as well get myself back into the mindset, because Raven is coming out. Raven is coming out at the end of January. I am super looking forward to it. It's my big January read is going to be this. I'm so excited. So yeah, a good one to start the year with 2 great audiobooks. Now the third thing that I finished was Rebound. Now this is also a reread for me. I read this in 2021. This is the second of the Oleander series that Lynn Van Doorn did. I listened to the audiobook of the first one, and then I read Rebound because there was no audiobook, and I was waiting for the audiobook to be released, and then I kind of forgot about it, and then I saw on her Instagram that she was releasing an audiobook of Meet Me at Midnight, and I was like, oh great, but it's not Michael Furiolo, and I was like, oh well, not that interested. And while I was looking at that, on Audible, I saw that Rebound had an audiobook, and I was like, when was this released? So it actually was released in November. Did not know. So I purchased it because I needed to. It's Michael Furiolo. I'm gonna have to. So I was doing a reread, but this time instead of ebook form, it was audiobook form. And because I already knew the story and I knew the characters, I definitely enjoyed it, and I enjoyed listening to Michael Furiolo's voice and his voice acting. It was fun to hear some of the pronunciations of words or phrases that I didn't know how to pronounce from reading. I much preferred Rebound to the first book in the series. I enjoyed the first book in the series, but then when I read Rebound, I realised how much I just did not like the first book in the series as much. So it definitely coloured my view of the first book. And it's funny because obviously one of the main characters, Jacob, is the bad guy in the first book because he's the ex-boyfriend who didn't appreciate Brett, and it's like, Brett was a dick. Reading Rebound, you definitely think, hold on, he didn't love you either. Neither of you loved each other. You shouldn't have been boyfriend and boyfriend. You were in a relationship because of it was convenient, and you were both pretty. You know, it was a convenient relationship. It wasn't a love relationship. So when he meets Levi, who is this mechanic and full of tattoos and muscly and a total bottom, and there's Jacob, who is a twink personified, who is an absolute top, and no one will see him or want to experience him as a top because he looks like what did they call him, like ultra twink or something? Uber twink, that's it, uber twink. He's the uber twink because he's slim and willowy and beautiful blonde hair and sharp angles and great bone structure and a little bit up himself, and yet he's a total top, whereas Levi, who's this brawny mechanic full of tats and muscles, and he has piercings everywhere. This was the first time I'd heard of certain piercings, so I had to go looking for them online, and I gotta say, that was a Google search I was not expecting. Like, oh, it's there, is it? And I found a very handy diagram. Luckily it wasn't a photo, but I did find photos too. So yeah, I didn't know you could get these places pierced, but apparently you can. And yeah, piercing play was fun. There is, though, I have to say, content warning or trigger warning. There is sexual assault historically for one of the characters in this, which I did find distressing when I read it, and I was wondering how Michael Furiolo was going to play those parts when he was narrating it, and he did such a great job, and it was very emotional, and yet it wasn't so it didn't make me feel distraught, because it still has that uplifting feeling at the end where you get a nice happy ending. But there is talk of it, which is weird. It's the bit in the story that I don't particularly like, is how badly his parents treated him. Jacob, I mean, the main character, because I just don't see that as being something that would actually happen, but then maybe it would. So yeah, I enjoyed Rebound again as an audiobook this time. So the next thing that I read was the free story by Lynn Van Doorn on the Your book boyfriend's boyfriend giveaway, which is Misconduct, which is a short story. I think it's around maybe like 190 pages, so it's a little novella, and it's all about Maxie. Maxie is Jacob's friend from Rebound, and Jacob does make an appearance in this one, as does Ryan from the North Shore series, which I read in July in 2021. So it was really nice to have a bit of Ryan back. I could have had more of him, and it was good to have Jacob, and I could have had more of him, but it's only 190 pages. And for what it was as a novella, I think it was really well done. There was some rise and fall with the action and story. It did feel a little bit rushed, and I really do feel like the whole thing could have been a full-length novel. I could have been quite happy to read a full-length novel of this. I feel like there was a little bit of insta-love in there because of the fact that it's a little novella. So in my mind, it's longer and it was a bit more complex. But from what I read, I enjoyed everything about it. Maxie is a fantastic little twink of a lawyer, but he wears makeup, he's got fancy hair colours, he's got, fancy lingerie under his bespoke, fancy suits. He's just a great character. And I know some people on Goodreads, I was checking out the reviews, some people were like, oh, I didn't really like Maxie in Rebound, so I didn't like this. And I was like, well, if you didn't like the character, then, probably don't read it. I liked Maxie as a character, and I liked him in the extras. So in Rebound, Lynn Van Doren does give you extras, and there's a whole little side story about Maxie getting up to nonsense and trying to get the policeman of the town kind of in trouble in a legal sense, because he's a lawyer, he can do that. And so I really enjoyed that story, and I really enjoyed all the little bits with Maxie in Rebound and in Reunion. So I was really excited to have a little Maxie story. He's a great character, I love him. Derek, though, was a bit, vanilla. He wasn't as daddy he wasn't a daddy, and he could have been, He does remind me of the whole, if I wanted a sugar daddy, I could get a sugar daddy, but I don't need a sugar daddy. But it was that whole thing, there was more that could have been, I think, from Derek. There was more in his background, or there was more about the relationship with his ex. It kind of felt like there was more story there, and we weren't getting it because we're only getting a novella. So I don't know if one day she will rewrite this and put it out as a full-length novel, or if she'll just give us lots of little stories and extras on her website or in the newsletter, and I'm fine with that too, because I really enjoyed this. I wouldn't give it a full 5 stars as a read, but as a novella it was very well done and really enjoyable, and it was just nice to be back in that world. And I'm now waiting for the next book. I don't know, is it called Refuge in the series, or the Oleander Chronicle series, with the young vet and the sort of farm ranch guy, Aaron. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think it's coming out in 2022 this year, so that'll be something. Obviously, I'm obviously more excited about Raven because it's closer and sooner, but I think there's also going to be more in the North Shore series as well. So it was just nice to have this little tidbit of a story to tide me over until the next big novel from Lynn Van Doren. Happy to have anything from her, really. So yeah, I would probably give this 3.5 to 4 stars. Yeah, 4 stars for Maxie. Now the next one that I read from the Your Book Boyfriend's Boyfriend giveaway was The Player by Lily Morton. So yeah, I just jumped right in there and picked out my favourites straight away. I'm sure I'm going to eventually get some favourites as I read the rest of them, but those were the ones that I have been reading this 2021 anyway, so I will look forward to reading more of their work in 2022. The Player by Lily Morton. It says it's only 130 pages in Goodreads, but it felt like a proper full novel but I did devour it in like just a few hours, so it can't have been that long. But it didn't feel like it was lacking anything. It still had its rise and fall. It still had its little, moments. It was a sweet, sweet story. I loved it. I really loved it. It was great. It has all of the usual Lily Morton, snarky comments, sexy men being described sexily, and some hot sex and pining, longing and things like that. Oh, just everything about it was great. It's set in the Cotswolds. There are a kind of interesting group of people in this community. I think that every community will have someone like Lucy Scrimshaw who just gets up in everyone's business and shouldn't. It's just a pain in the ass. So it felt very real. It's, like I said, set in, is it a Cotswold village? That Max, if you have read the Close Proximity series, then you will know and probably love Max. Or maybe you think he's a bit of a douche. He was a bit of a douche for some of that. After Felix story. And he makes an appearance in this one, and it was just so sweet and lovely to have another little character back again, and you get to spend some time with him when he's in the Cotswolds. So you know that this is a point in time that's kind of mid-book for After Felix, so it was kind of a fun thing. Anyway, it follows two men, Frankie and Con, or Conrad, but everyone just calls him Con. And Frankie lives in this nice little house in the Cotswolds, but he has lost his husband. He was married to a man called David, and David's best friend and bandmate was Con. And Frankie was introduced to Con when they got together, and they set up a business making guitars, because Con is actually very, very good with his hands. He's very much like an artist when it comes to making these musical instruments, hence the player thing. But there's also this element that David described Con as a player to Frankie, so that he would become his friend, but he wouldn't ever. And there's definitely an element of that within the story, like David knew and was kind of like, oh, I'm with this guy who's actually perfect for him, and I'm going to make it appear as though he's a player, which Frankie won't like. But it didn't matter, because the real player was David, who cheated on Frankie and then died. And it's like, whoa. And so these two men are left trying to save a business that David had almost bankrupted. And so Frankie and Con have been together for about 3 years, I think they say, since the death of David, and trying to get this business back up. And Frankie's been obviously mourning the loss of his husband and whatever other issues and emotions he's had to go through, and Con's just been there helping with the business. And it's just sweet that it's kind of like this friends to lovers, but friends with a lot of heavy issues hanging around, so making it really difficult. And it felt so real. It did. Oh, it was just so wonderful. It was wonderful because it never felt rushed. It never felt like anything came out of nowhere. It felt just chef's kiss perfect. Oh, Lily Morton just does great characters. They feel real. I can totally imagine this, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is Cotswolds. I've seen the Cotswolds in movies. I watched The Holiday. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. It was wonderful. I 100% recommend you go and read The Player if you liked any of Lily Morton's works. Go and get this one too. It's so sweet, and when they finally, oh no, it's so good. It's so good. There's just nice little moments as well. I do notice that in most of Lily Morton's books, as I mentioned in the Close Proximity review, it's kind of like You know, like Nora Ephron kitchen porn? But she has that for, like, date spots and just general dating porn. You know, like, this one, they end up in a lavender field, and you're like, that's a fucking great date. And then when they're talking about best dates ever, and you're like, that is a great date. So it's kind of like in a lot of her books, there's perfect dating porn. It's what you can imagine, and I don't know why these books aren't made into like chick flick type things that I would watch the shit out of. So yeah, this was perfect. This was lovely. This is exactly the way to start the year. So the first actual physical print title I read was My Love Mix-Up, Volume 1 by Aruku and Wataru Hinekure. And this is a shoujo beat title, but it's BL. It's BL. It's 100% BL. The bisexual panic in this is real. It's like, whoa. So perfectly encapsulated into a volume of a mix-up stuff. It really is all mix up. It's so good. I'm enjoying it. I know that there's a live action version, so it would be good to read this and then watch that and kind of compare and contrast. The artwork is fantastic. I love all the like hyper expressionism going on. I love all that kind of stuff because it's so comedic. It's really funny the way that the story is woven so that there is the sort of misunderstandings, but they feel like they could really happen rather than, you know, communication misunderstandings in some other romances. It's a bit like, oh, well, that was kind of stupid. They could have just said something. Whereas in this case, it's like they do say things, but they're misconstrued, and they're perfectly misconstrued to make it really, really fun and interesting. And the twist at the end of this volume is just like, oh, I just thought, oh, it's not a love triangle, it's a love square. It was really fun. It was really fun. I think that this is something that I definitely want to pick up more of, and it's because it's a shoujo beat title. It's only $7.99. Shoujo beat used to be $6.99, which was a really good price, and obviously everything in the UK went up in price by £1. But you can still get them for good prices, because BL manga you definitely can't get for good prices. Everything's so expensive now. So I could definitely pick up, rather than paying full price that I did for this, I could probably pick it up for around £5 or something. £5 something, maybe £6. And that would be a really good buy. And I definitely want to pick up Volume 2. And I know Volume 2 is now out in the US. I don't know if it's out in the UK. I'm going to have to look it up. It's so good because this is a shoujo title. But BL was originally shoujo anyway. But there's elements to this that really do push it as a shoujo. And I like it. I really like it. It does have some sort of reminiscent aspect to that Blue Sky feeling, because there is a female character that is quite prominent within the story, and that's something that's often overlooked in BL, that there's less emphasis on having male and female characters and having a story that's built up, because you don't often get the chance to. So I'm glad that Shoujo Beat were willing to take the chance on building up this kind of a story and producing it, because it's hilarious, it's sweet, it's funny, it's complex, like, oh, I don't know where it's gonna go, but I've got hopes. My wee Fujo heart has hopes. And I just think Aoki and Hashimoto and Ida are just delightful. They're just, you know, mixed gender fun friend groups are just the best. So yeah, I'm really happy that I got to read this one, and I will be on the lookout for volume 2 as soon as I possibly can. even though I'm like, no, I'm not buying anything. I'm like, I want to buy this. This is really good. So yeah, this is a great volume. One of my reading goals for last year was to read at least 2 titles on Futeki each week, and I did not manage that. So it will roll on to 2022 as a reading goal. I might even try and up it so that I read more than 2 a week. I'd actually like to read like 7 because there's over 400 titles on Futekia apparently. So if I read 1 a day, I still would have others to read. Anyway, this week, first week of 2022, I read Suspected of Mutual Love by Suzumaru Minta, of course, because this was released right at the end of 2021. I was really excited about it coming out. It's this really cute one about Akihito, who is a boy who has unfortunately lost his parents. He's kind of lost, he doesn't know what he's doing, he's feeling trapped, he's in this big old house villa, and this young police officer comes and stays with him and is in a way trying to stop some things from happening which might be self-destructive for Akihito, and they end up becoming friends. It's quite a sweet, slow burn. There's not very much, there's a couple of little kisses, and it's only until the very last extras section that you get some spicy action. So even though it's given a 4 spicy chili rating, it's not as spicy until the very last extra. And then it's pretty spicy, but not many pages of spiciness. I wanted more spice. I want more chilies. Suzumaru Minta's work is just so gorgeous. And I really do love her artwork. It's just... and she really knows how to draw the most smexy scenes. This was a cute one. I really liked Go. He's a good character design, and I loved Akihito's uncle. He's pretty cute too. I'd like a wee story for just the uncle. Can we have the uncle story? I love it when we get family members and it's like, can we have their story too? But I suppose he'll need to have kids to be able to carry on the kimono shop. But no, I want him to have a BL story too. But yeah, this was a great one for a Futekia read. I also read My Little Doggie by Echo, which was the prequel to My Only Doggie that I read in December. I kind of thought that it looked similar or familiar to something, and I was like, oh, I don't really know, but I didn't even bother to check if there was a companion one. So there was, so I read that, and it was dead cute. It was about Chappie. I kind of got that impression anyway when I was reading My Only Doggie, that the characters in the dog groomers must have some sort of story. So yeah, I just thought, there's obviously a story there. There was. So yeah, it was Chappie and Mamoru in the dog groomers that appeared in My Only Doggie, and their story and how Chappie came to be working at the dog groomers, and there was moments that were just really sad and sweet, and like I got a little bit like teary-eyed. Oh, and when Granny was talking to him, it was like, oh. So it was quite emotional as well. It's a really sweet little one. So yeah, I think I'd like to read more of Echo stuff. There's only the 2 works that are on Futeki at the moment, but I enjoy both of them a lot. So yeah, that was a good one to choose as well. So the next Futekia title that I read was How to Train an Impatient Dog. It has the word how in it, so I'm going to use it as my first week's Buzzword readathon in digital form. This is by Matsumoto Noda, and it's got some spice in it. It's 5 spicy chilies, so there's definite spice. Every single story has some spiciness in it. It is a series of like one-shot stories, and they're all a little bit different, but I think what they all have in common is that they deal with passion for life. and in various different ways. And I have to say, they were actually really quite powerful short stories. They're the kind that, you know, you can read a whole volume and feel like, oh, that was good, but there was nothing there. And then there's some short story anthologies and you're just like, wow, that one short story, it hit me in the feels, and I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time. And this was one of them. I do remember people talking about this Matsumoto Noda story to some degree, but I forgot about it. And then I realised this was the story that people were talking about. Anyway, so the stories that it's got: How to Train an Impatient Dog. It's about someone who's not particularly happy with their sexual partner, but they are in love with them, so they want to work out their sexual compatibility, and they manage that quite well. That's kind of it. They're just sexual training going on. The next one was about a teacher having a crush on one of their students because of his pillowy pecs, and not really my favourite. Definitely had just a little bit too close to the bone in terms of teacher-student relationships and things. It was like, oh, this feels a little bit too realistic. The next one is the one that I was just mentioning, The End of the World's Not So Bad. That was so powerful for a short story BL. It was, the kind that you end up thinking about for a long time. I don't think I'm ever going to stop thinking about it. And it's about a zombie apocalypse and a virus that just spreads across the world. So one, like straight away, I'm like, oh my god, what? And then, you know, if you get infected, you become a zombie. So you can imagine how the story's going to go. And I know that there is another zombie BL out there. So this is just a one shot. And I know that there's one that's like an ongoing one. I've seen the image, but I don't really know what the story's about. I'm not a particular fan of zombie stories because there generally is some heartbreak in there. And oh my god, The End of the World's Not So Bad was pretty heartbreaking and powerful. Powerful, I think, is the word to describe it. Especially because, like, that end scene when they wake up and there's the sunrise, it's like, ah, and then, woof. And then the last one was How to Start Your First Love at Age 50. And there were some powerful moments in that as well. Like, he just always just assumed that he would never meet someone who he would actually feel emotional connection or love or even sexual attraction for. So he just got to the age of 50 and just thought that it would never happen for him. And when he's talking about it, it's like, oh my god. So yeah, this was a short story collection that was full of very hot, steamy sex, but with not just heart, because it's not like love and affection is there, it's that powerful emotion is there. So yeah, this was a big one. Glad I read it though, and I'm glad I chose how as my word to put in the search, because it's what, where, when, why, and how. So if you're interested in doing the Buzzword readathon, you've got the rest of January. Any books that have who, what, where, when, why, and how in the title, and that will count as your Buzzword. So technically, I have now done my Buzzword readathon for the month, which is always good, and I can just relax. Obviously, I don't like to relax too much because I ended up choosing a physical title as well. What Did You Eat Yesterday, Volume 1 by Fumi Yoshinaga. This is about Shiro, the lawyer, and Kenji, the stylist, who live together and cook together. Well, they don't really cook. Kenji doesn't really cook. Shiro cooks and Kenji eats his meals. The two of them are just so domestic. It's just so chill and delicious. It's great. It's like a perfect thing. I have in my collection 13 volumes. There are, I think, 17, and I think the 17th volume will be published in English in 2022. I think that's it. Is it 18 or is it 17? I'm not entirely sure. But I hope to, one of my collection goals is to complete the What Did You Eat Yesterday series and to read it all. So I'm not too bothered about reading the whole thing or reading every volume that I have in my collection during January for the Buzzword. I'm just at least going to read this one volume. I might read a couple of others as well, because I'm not entirely sure if this is the kind of story that requires a binge read. I don't actually think it should be binged. I think you should take your time reading it and maybe read it over several months or years because it's okay to do it like that. It's got a series of stories, their life together, and lots of food, and so you can enjoy the recipes, because that's kind of what it is. It's like a recipe book, but with day-to-day life musings. It's kind of like one of those food blogs that they used to have back in, well, probably when this started. Kind of slice of life. Hey, this is what I'm up to, and hey, this is the recipe I've just tried, or this is what we're having for dinner. And because I'm asexual and because I have a fixation on food, this appeals to me in a massive way. This is just so my bag. I love it. So yeah, I did really enjoy rereading this because I have read volume 1 before. I haven't read the rest of my volumes though, so I will be planning to read most of these volumes up until the final one will be published, and I'll hopefully collect them and be able to read the whole series. So a 2022 goal is to complete a read of What Did You Eat Yesterday as a full series. I don't want it to be a stressful thing though. So yeah, with my buzzwords, what I want to do is slightly different to what I did last year. I enjoyed doing the big BL recommendation videos and things. If you want me to continue doing that, then let me know in the comments, but I think I would like to choose one digital and or one physical print and just do one a month, and maybe choose a male romance as well. So a digital manga, a print manga, and a I don't know, audio or ebook or print male romance as the buzzwords, so that I'm not overloading or feeling stressed, because I did put a lot of pressure on myself to read like a huge ton of things, and I should probably just relax, take a chill pill a bit more. So yeah, this kind of work, What Did You Eat Yesterday, is the exact epitome of a chill pill. A delicious chill pill with soy sauce and mirin and sake, just all those delicious flavors that I miss from living in Japan. So yeah, What Did You Eat Yesterday? Oh, such a good volume, and I'm really looking forward to just taking my time and slowly reading the rest of this series. So that was everything that I read for week 1 of 2022. I had 3 audiobooks, then 2 ebooks / novellas, 2 physical manga, and 3 digital manga. So overall that is 10 volumes overall for the 1st through to the 9th, so that's good progress. I'm not aiming for 365 this year, that's not my goal. It's probably going to be less. I don't want to put any stress on myself, so I'm just going to read a lot of mood things. I have also started a YA LGBT romance called If This Gets Out. I really should have read this already because I did get a copy on NetGalley. So hopefully I will be able to finish in the 2nd week if this gets out. And if that's the only thing I read, I will be happy and you'll hear all about it next week. So yeah, hopefully this is a shorter video. I already know it's not. I already know it's not shorter than it should be. Next week I will work harder on doing shorter videos. That's another one of my goals for 2022. Shorter videos, stop talking. And on that note, thanks for watching. I'm 365801 and I make videos about male romance, BL manga, yaoi, and all that good stuff. Thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video. I hope everyone's having a good day. Take care. Remember, every day is a BL day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!